there's 6 points split Freesia, Millward, and Simone. And while Tomas does sit in third among them, he's taken the lion's share of wins so far this season. Spotty attendance has put him on the back foot compared to Gernot and Alex. Today's race at Motegi places a lot of pressure on all three of them to perform well. What will Japan hold in store? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 12 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Ossian Paka. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Twin Ring Motegi wasn't even a thought yet in 1978. In fact, the venue wasn't built until the 1990s. Let's hop down to our track guide to see how it will fit in with our retro F1 cars. Welcome to Twin Ring Motegi. This well-known Japanese racing facility located roughly 2 hours north of Tokyo gets its name from the fact that it has both an oval and a road course that can be run. But a unique feature of this track is that instead of having a roval layout, the road course is entirely separate from the oval circuit. On top of that, drivers have 3 different road courses to choose from in the form of the Grand Prix, East, and West circuits. While not totally devoid of elevation change, the track is relatively flat. What distinguishes the place the most is the combination of plenty of long straights heading into heavy braking zones. This means that passing opportunities abound. With it being built in 1996, it has most of the qualities you'd expect from a modern road course, including flat curbs, a fair amount of runoff, and multiple pit complexes. Oddly, because of the oval, the track includes night lighting for a portion of the road circuit. Though there isn't much notable about most of the turns, one of the more distinctive corners is the final chicane on the Grand Prix course. Leading out of a tunnel that returns you to the oval infield, it's kinked on entry and it tightens greatly at the second apex. This makes pushing the limits of this corner extremely tough, and it often catches drivers out. Though international series such as IndyCar and MotoGP have held rounds at the track, today it is mainly used for local open wheel and GT series. Still, the one-of-a-kind experience offered to drivers and fans at this circuit is sure to keep people coming back for years to come. There you see Twin Ring Motegi's road course. Of course, it has the oval that we won't be using today, with them being 2 complete separate venues that you can race on around here. But Ozzy, this is not the most popular of tracks, but it should provide an interesting challenge, I think, for these cars.
Yeah, Joe, I absolutely agree. I don't know why it's not more popular. I mean, I guess it's kind of cookie cutter when it comes to racing circuits. The oval around it certainly not one of those. Built in 1997 by Honda in an effort to bring IndyCar over to Japan, and they did race there back in the day. Don't race here one of these days anymore, but they have MotoGP and other series as well around, and it's a great car racing track, I find, and well suited for the Lotus 79. A couple of slow corners at the start, some high speed challenging corners like turn 7, 8 complex near the middle of the track, and otherwise it should provide an interesting challenge with the lack of grip that the Japanese surface has to offer.
Kind of known for that. Doesn't see a lot of use in real life either, as you mentioned. Just a few major series that come here. But let's take a look at our driver standings, the point standings for this season. I mentioned 6 points between Freesia, Millward, and Simone. There you see it, with Freesia leading kind of surprisingly, honestly, at Detroit. Now, mathematically, Etu and Timu are both still in it, but unless something drastic happens to all of our top 3, they're probably going to be eliminated today, with 60 points being the maximum you can take in a round. Really, it is a 3-horse race between those 3 you see up at the top of the driver's standings. Now, what about the Teams Championship, Ozzy? It is, of course, the Classic Teams Championship they run here.
Yeah, the Classic Teams Championship with Brabham, the Permanent Racing Team, as it says there, the Brabham team, with Vaskilampi, Costa and Herner still in the lead, just 12 points ahead of Candy Team Tyrrell. So it's kind of close up there too, with Williams and Essex Lotus fighting over the final spot on the podium, and Arrows rounding out your top 5 on the team standings. And well, it's the penultimate round of the championship, Joe. How will they race today?
Well, they're going to be racing for surprisingly few laps. It's quite a while to get around here. 26 laps for today's event. And as always, it is an open setup series. So drivers will be trying to find speed in that sense. Something that they might want to worry about, because there's a few places where you can get a little wide, is those incident points. They will have a drive-through at 17, and they'll be completely disqualified at 25. But with only 26 laps, you really have to be abusing things to try and rack those up. Still, you can hit those 17 if you don't play careful. Now, before we get to the qualifying, we want to, recommend that you advertise with us. GSRC offers a wealth of options to help you get your branding seen on a platform with over 1 million monthly impressions. If your organization is looking for a global audience to advertise with, look no further than GSRC. We've got a link in the description below if you want to learn more, just as easy as clicking that. Qualifying right now has Ascari Rin up at the top with Vascalampi in second, only 2/10 between them. Most of the drivers, or at least some of the drivers, have only gotten their first lap in. It takes that long just to get around here.
Yeah, it does, and I think people were also waiting if those clouds would roll in and come to cover the sun off. 22 degrees air temp, 43 degrees track temp in Celsius, track temp about 100 Fahrenheit, air temp around 70. So there you go. And Gernot Felice, interestingly, he was the fastest driver all week. He's been really, really good here in Japan. And of course, he's leading the championship. He wants yet another to his name. He's only on his first flying lap. So he's been really waiting for long. Meanwhile, we're watching guys like Simon, Rinne, Vaskilampit, and Kate Vainiokangas and others on their second ones already.
It's going to be a little bit tight then for Frisha to try and get around. He may have, yeah, okay. So it looks like he'll be able to squeak it in. But yeah, he had to set his first time. Simone up at the top now. Rinne is already done with his qualifying, and it's 2/100ths behind Simone. It's looking like it's going to be tight between them. So now we need to see if the number 1 car is going to throw himself in amongst it. Laus Olsen crossing the line, and it looks like he's going to put himself at a 59 there, as didn't quite catch where he had placed himself on the board. Marco Kayla and the number 5. And then we've got Simone coming around for his second lap. He actually goes quicker, but it's still within a 10th of Oscar. Freakton Kata now up into 4th, and Gernot Frisha changing things around very quickly. He goes onto the second row.
Yeah, and Gernot made a mistake on the final corner, turn 14, very treacherous that one, as we're watching Alex Milward on his second one, so Gernot lost a bit of time there, has to improve on his second lap. What can Alex do? He's going in, and that's not the greatest of times, Alex. That's not an improvement. He'll be starting on 7th at most.
That puts him under the gun for sure. Roveld also does not improve. Neither does Villeneuve. Paul Williams, who is sitting in 17th, is coming through that tricky final chicane onto the front straight. His 139.3 is his only lap right now. His second one across the line, 39.301, improves by less than a 10th, and yet it gets him up 1 position. It's very tight in the midfield.
It is indeed. Mind you, this race did not split today, so we have 34 starters. A big field of Lotus 79 drivers looking to take everything on. Greg Spitzer here looking to improve his time. He does 142.4, and then that means he does go all the way to 31st place. Gernot Flitzche now, as Severi Sepp across his final lap, improves just a little. Gernot now, he is gonna be the man to really put the challenge to Tamás Simon and to Oskar Rinne near the top.
He's got a 10th to make up to take over the pole. He could still move on to the front row with even less than that, though. Let's see what it's going to be as he comes to the line. It's not quicker. Ooh. He'll stay third.
That didn't look like a bad lap either. Plumley coming across the line as well. He's not going to improve on that one. I don't see that Gernot made the mistake. It was just a bit of a slower lap, I guess. And that means it's going to be Tamás Simon on pole position, unless Barry West can really surprise us here in the final seconds.
Vascalampi didn't do it either, as he himself had a non-lap must have had an off track somewhere. West, who's sitting in 20th, he's actually doing fairly well. Unfortunately, is not able to find any more speed on that second lap. That's going to be it for our qualifying. It's a lot of people to go through, so let's start heading through our starting order. Tomas Simone on the pole with Scotty Rin in second. Gernot Friesche starts in P3. Freakton Kate, he could be the monkey wrench in everything. He'll be starting fourth. Timu Vaskalampi P5 is then followed by Etu Vaini Okangas in sixth place. Alex Millward in seventh is followed by Martin Brandberg in P8. You've got Marco J. Kela in ninth and Juanmi Costa rounding out your top 10.
Severi Seppä starting 11th. Bit of a disappointing qualifying for him. Kid Engström 12th place. Steve Bycroft 13th. Talk about disappointment. Steve only in the midfield. Mike Rasimas 14th. Michael de Turk 15th with Paul Williams and Carl Villeneuve on the next positions. Bimal and Harman starting 18th. Lost Olsen 19th and Barry West rounding out your top 20.
Roveld starts 21st, followed by Pekka Kalahara in 22nd and Timothy Reed in 23rd. To his outside, it's Pablo Suarez. You've got Keith Erner in the 25th position, and then Robert Plumley in P26. Robert Simpkins on the inside of the next row in 27th, with Steve Sarles starting 28th. Then you've got Thomas Delmuth and Luca Lodato in the next two positions. Last few rows, Craig Spitzer, Stefan Rossman, John Van Dorn, and Cole Fair. All 34 drivers managed to get times in. Not always seeing that in the series. It is a standing start, as they did back and still do in F1, of course. You can see, wow, that is a huge grid to have a standing start. And we're just got one more driver yet to get out there. Once we get A2 on the grid, and there he is. So we should hear the engines begin to rev as the lights come up. It's round 12, 2 more to go, including today. Green flag is out. It's a good start for Simone, a bad one for Rin. Friesche is going to get up into second place and get by him down into the first corner. Everybody going to try and sort themselves out into 1 and 2. A little bit of 3 wide. Oh, and a bit of messiness in the back. Simpkins involved in that. It looks like a couple others, but they're going to get going once again.
Yeah. Steve Stars was involved in that one as well. Craig Spitzer, John Van Dorn, a couple of other guys as well involved in that bit of melee. But everyone else getting through cleanly off the first couple of corners. Big field, so we expect something like that to happen in the future as well.
Down into turn 5, starting to get single file already, although a lot of battling back around 7th. Costa, Granberg, Engstrom, Kayla, all getting this one sorted out. Seppa already in there, as well as Alex Millward. Millward must have had an atrocious start. He's down in 12th, make that 11th, as he's going to try and sneak to the inside of the first set of the S's, but Seppa's going to come back at him as it switches back and demotes him back down to P12.
Yeah, so he didn't just get a good launch, Alex Millward. He was spinning his wheels getting off the line, and he did that all to himself, no contact, but just a terrible start for Alex, and that's not going to do anything good to his championship hopes. Mind you, Gernot Friesche, he's leading this race. Tomas Simon, he's leading this race with Gernot Friesche in the second place. Those are his contenders, and Alex Millward dwindling around in somewhere around the 12th place.
There are 2 bonus points that are able to be claimed. One is the pole, which Simone has gotten. So if he gets first, he can get 58 points. If he gets the fastest lap, that'll make a total of 60 points. But he's got to get to that checkered flag first. And Friesche looks like he's keeping him in check as they cross the line for the first time today.
Yeah, indeed. I'm looking at the midfield. Meanwhile, Gidi Engström made a bit of a mistake coming out of the last corner. Marco Kela trying to challenge him with Severi Seppä and Alex Millward involved in that one. And it looks like a feisty battle. So it might have championship implications if Alex Millward doesn't get past these guys on a short order. He tries here past Seppä and he spins.
Oh, and he spins right at the exit where everybody's going to be tracking out. He backs up to try and avoid it just in time as a whole stream of cars gets through. But this is horrible for his championship hopes. We're going to look at the replay as off screen another car spun near him but did not hit him. This, well, as our director was telling us before the broadcast, this was full send.
Yeah, it was Alex Millward trying to break past Severi Seppä on the inside, braking too late, lost the back end, and well, he's been taking tips from a world champion in how you can win the championship. Unfortunately, the name was Sebastian Vettel.
'Cause 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 ' So that sets him all the way back towards the back of the fields, and his two rivals are going to be getting a lot more points than him unless he has a magnificent run through a whole field of cars. Speaking of those top two, Simone and Freesia are actually still being chased by Oscar, our winner last round in Detroit. The number 11 is right behind him. They're starting to split away from fourth place Tenkata. It is looking good for these three potentially being one of our winners today.
Yeah, so it's been these three all day long pretty much, and all season long almost, with Alex claiming a couple of victories here and there. Tamás Simon, he's leading away as he did early on in the championship, but he made a couple of errors in the final few rounds, and as a result of that, it's really tighter than it should be. In terms of Tamás's pace, he's been the fastest driver early mid part of the season. He's been challenged by Oscar a couple of these races. Gernot hasn't really been on his form. He hasn't really been the Gernot Fritzsche, the Red Baron that everybody fears. But he's starting to come back a little bit as the season rolls along and as he sees the championship opportunity there. And Oscar Rinne, he's just trying to follow them through, trying to hang tough with them. I don't think he's faster than either of these guys on race pace here, nor in qualifying pace, but he can certainly hang in there, and he's just hoping that Gernot will put the attack on Tamás so he can then pick up the pieces.
No need to go to it, but Barry West unfortunately made a mistake and then got bumped as he was trying to collect the car. That sent him to the back. One more position for Alex Millward, I suppose, as we check in on the battle for 8th position. Actually, you could almost count this as the battle for 7th. This is Costa, chased by Granberg, Engstrom, and Kayla, still in a bit of a train.
Yeah, they are, and those guys will be certainly looking for a great position. Eetu Vainiokangas ahead of them as well. He's not too far, so they are starting to lose ground to the top 5, the top 4 ahead of them, and that's gonna put the hurry and the haste on these guys. Oh, and Costa spins on the final corner. He caught the grass on the exit of the curb. He spins around, manages to keep the engine running, and gets back going, but that's gonna be a lot of positions for him.
It's a nice little whip turn in that Brabham to get it going. Let's watch and see. Did he just...
The curb, look here,
yeah.
And caught the grass, and that's gonna be him around. And you know, Joe, it's an interesting thing that's gonna really put the wrench on in terms of the team championship.
Ooh, that's a good point. These drivers do take a lot of pride in claiming that. So as he falls down the order, we hop back to our group at the front. This is our top 3, Simone, Freesia, and Rin.
Yeah, and Frikne Kade as well. He's been putting in some good lap times last couple of times. He's been in fact matching Tamás's pace last time around. So Frikne Kade, who got a podium last week at Detroit, we talked early on, and we've been talking for a long time, Joe, about Frikne Kade and how he's fast in qualifying and just cannot translate that to race form. Well, I think that podium last week around really gave him the confidence needed and the mindset needed that, you know, if I can keep it together, I can hang with these guys, I can fight for podiums, I can fight for wins.
We got a big wreck in the mid-pack. Sorry, it looks like De Turk and Costa involved in that. The number 15 actually still stationary, and he's going to take a tow. This happened into turn 10. De Turk looks like, oh, he's going to get completely rammed by Costa. Just breaks himself entirely.
Yeah, look at Costa coming into the corner. He's just coming in way too hot. I don't know if he didn't expect the braking point, but that's no excuse. Costa, who had that spin last time around, ran into the back of the Turk, and I think Costa as well, he was really not happy about that. He was saying sorry in the chat, and he retired as well out of that one, but that was a big mistake from Juan Costa. And Michael de Turk, he was starting this race with number 27 on his number 26 on his car. He qualified 15th, was well running in the mid-pack, and he's really one of those guys who had a chance to show what he can do in the top split in the broadcast race. He hasn't been there any of these times before.
It's a shame that unfortunately got set back that way. But look at this, Freesia still all over the back of that Alfa Romeo and putting a lot of pressure on. In fact, much more that I'd say Oscar is putting on Gernot right now. He's been within a car length or two, and most of the corners, you can see Tenkate still holding on and keeping it within a second of this top trio. We ride on board with our leader currently. This is Simone, looking under his rear wing down into turn 11, hard braking, downhill braking into there as it swings under the oval, taking out a few cones in the process. As now they come through the final chicane and a little bit of a better exit for the number 3.
Yeah, let's see what he can do with that one. Can he run away from Gernot? He has the legs onto the main straight. Oh, Gernot braking very late into turn number 1, putting a bit of a different line there. I don't think that was the fastest line, though, as Oscar Rinne really caught him up, and he now has Gernot right on his targets. Mind you, about those cones, you saw Tamás and Gernot taking those cones, Gernot taking those again. That's really risky because those can get stuck under your front wing, and they can really ruin your day that way.
Certainly mess up the handling of the car. We've seen it multiple times on this channel. It's amusing to watch, but not amusing when you're in the cockpit for sure. As this continues on, if they keep battling like that, look at Freak Tenkate. It's not just his freakish pace that's helping him gather them up. I think them squabbling with each other will be a big boon to that number 10 car.
Yeah, normally you got 9 lives in one cat. How many lives do you have in 10 cats? Well, you have 90 lives, and I'm sure he's gonna use every one of those during the race today at Motegi. Flick Tenkate trying to catch them up. In fact, catching them up by a little bit, and meanwhile to the back. Yeah, go.
Yeah, Kitty Engstrom's had a problem. He is off track. Did he have some help from Kayla? I think there might have been a touch there. Yeah, except it wasn't completely his fault. It looks like Engstrom started to spin with a touch in the grass there.
Yeah, I think you're right. Kitty Engstrom just running wide and just spinning around. Kela had nowhere to go collecting him, and that's Kitty Engstrom's car really damaged. I must say, Tocho, normally I don't call anyone out because I keep mispronouncing names, but as a Finn, I must say it's Kela, not Kayla, because Kayla means a cone, and that's also often said to someone who is a bit simple.
Okay, I'll call him Marco.
Yeah.
So we come back to Roveld here. Looks like we had a change for position. It's still very tight. Kalahara taking a little peek to try and get him back into turn 1. Doesn't quite work out. That happened down into turn 11 where Derek got a nice run.
Yeah, and now Kalahara is just trying to follow him through and trying to find what he can scramble from this battle, and scrambling to find what he can from this battle. The point. Meanwhile, the leaders are closing in, Joe.
Grisha all over the back of him. This is the closest we've seen in a while. Sometimes you can get sneak attacks down into turn 9, but he decides not to take it this early in the race. We're not even halfway through yet. As they come down into 10, still just staying right behind. He'll get one more shot into 11. It's 3 passing opportunities in a row in these cars, and a poor exit for Frisha. Doesn't look like it's going to give him this chance quite yet. He does show his nose. He's getting into the head of that number 3 car.
He is, and he's trying to crack Tamás, and Tamás has been showing some dents in his armor, not even chinks, downright dents and even holes in his armor during this season, making unforced errors. We saw it at Nürburgring, we saw it at Detroit, and we've seen them before as well. Summit Point springs to mind as well with Tamás Simon and unforced errors. So Gernot, I think he's looking at that and using all of his experience in Tensam. And yeah, Tenkate, he made a mistake on turn number 1. He's back on track though.
Just as that was a great run there from Oscar, couldn't quite do anything with it. Thankfully, a minor incident for Freak just cost him a couple seconds, and he's not under threat from Teemu, who is still back there in 5th, had previously fallen off. So it's back to 3 for a battle for the lead. Speaking of Teemu, let's take a look at that, because Eetu is also right on top of him. Battle for the top 5 here.
Yeah, I think you're loving all of these double vowels out there today with Eetu trying to pass Teemu around the outside. and not quite able to pull it off. Mind you, Teemu, in case of wondering why Vaskilampi is so slow, he has issues with his hand. So I think it's his right hand or right wrist. He has issues with it and can't use the proper force feedback, can't really grip the wheel properly. So he's fighting hard with all those things in mind, but can't really bring it to the top guys as a result of that. And now Eetu Vainiokangas trying to continue his string of surprisingly good results. He's come into this series and he hasn't come into this series to fight for the 11th or 12th place.
Yeah, like I said, if something drastic happened to the top three, it takes a little bit of a look down into 11. He could still mathematically be in the championship. However, it is extremely unlikely. A bit of different line between the two of them coming into the approach of the final chicane. They come out about even with a little bit of wheel spin for the number 12 car trailing as he tries to find some way around this Brabham. He's going to look once again. Almost sends it down into the first corner, but the braking is surprisingly little into there, and he's not going to get the chance.
No, but he's having looks, and I really like the line that Eetu is using into that final corner. He's using the narrow, more shallower line, which isn't the faster line actually, but it might work better with his setup, and it's a really good compromise to make if you're unsure about using the proper line and using those cones, because it's much more consistent. It might be half a tenth slower or so, but it's much more consistent, and I think for him that just really goes to spell miles about his approach to racing. He's fast, but he doesn't want to make any unforced errors. He doesn't want to make any mistakes here. He's just pouring on the pressure and trying to beat Vaskilampi here. And I think at this rate, he's going to have his chance. Wow!
Just given space at the apex. Somehow they don't touch and remain in the same order. That was brave stuff. I can't believe they made it through. Both of them smoking the tires down into turn 10 as the fight is very much on. And this is actually allowing Martin Granberg to gain time, hand over fist on the two of them. It's going to be a three-way battle very soon. Eetu is going to take another little peek, but then comes back into the racing line.
Yeah, I think the last thing two Finns would like is a Swede spoiling their party in the form of Martin Granberg here. And, you know, we did social distancing in Finland before it was cool, but I don't think those guys got the memo. Certainly coming a little bit too close for comfort here on turn number 9, I think it was. And with that said, Teemu Vaskilampi managing to spring a little bit of a gap to himself once again and not quite under threat by Eetu anymore.
We're going to take a peek back at our leaders once again. Simone's still leading. He has been under threat still. That hasn't changed. It's just we haven't seen pass attempt from Frisia, and now it's gone back to about 310. So he's dropped back slightly. It's almost been like they're a little bit stuck. Is the wake a bit of a problem around here? I know there's a lot of stop-start corners, so I wouldn't think it'd be an issue.
It is a bit of an issue. It always is. I mean, that car's gonna understeer, and especially for guys, and you can see it on Oscar is driving actually. He's having to really force the car to turn into the corners, which is also gonna hit his tires. So he is driving behind two other cars, and he's struggling with understeer, the dirty air from them both. And if he's having a bit of issues with tire life in general, then that's gonna be an issue. Once again, he comes four-wheel sliding out of the corners. So yeah, I think Oscar right now needs to just take a step back and relax a little bit. The problem is those two guys at the front, they're not fighting, they're not affording him, they're not giving him the time to relax, they're just trying to run away from the Finn.
Bycroft's in a nice battle right now, back in 11th place, almost got overtaken by Williams. Had a big look up the inside into turn 10, down into 11, plunging into the corner. Hall didn't get the exit he needed. He'll have to stay put. This is surprisingly low for Bycroft. We're used to seeing him vie for wins.
Yeah, and now he's about to get overtaken by Williams. Not a good look in 2020. Anyway, a better look maybe in 1978. But yeah, Steve Bycroft in 11th place. Probably not the kind of guy who likes this Motegi track very much, I think. I think he came here to, you know, just participate and trying to get some points for himself and his team, not necessarily fighting for the wins. I know Steve is the kind of guy who doesn't necessarily like every circuit. I know a lot of drivers are like that, but for Steve, it seems almost that he's either fighting for the win or fighting for the 10th.
I'm glad you finished that word, because at first I thought you were going to say he was here to party. Meanwhile, oh, that battle we were watching before, looks like Vascalampi and A2 didn't quite swap around, but it's awful close, and Granberg is now up with them. They almost changed positions a few more corners earlier in this lap. Down to turn 9. Nothing doing here. It might be 4 cars soon. Marco is starting to close in back there as they come down to turn 10. Looks like Vanio Congus can't quite get close enough to attack. Is he looking for the run off the corner? Both of them really trying to square it off, and it doesn't give either one the advantage. The slipstream starting to help. Here comes Etu. Is he going to try and get it down to the apex? He's going to look. He's going to get the car side by side, and he's going to be able to at least claim the apex, but doesn't get the traction off the corner. And once again, he is fended off by Vascalampi.
Yeah, but Vascalampi may be getting a bad exit onto the main straight. No, he manages to hold him off well. Good battling between these two drivers. Martin Granberg just watching back, staying back, and here comes Eetu to the inside and makes it through to the apex. Can he pull it through? Teemu, yes, he can. What can Teemu do on the exit, though? He should have the better exit, but can't get the grip down. And Eetu Vainiokangas finally pulling that overtake off. Now, let's see what he can do with it.
Teemu, each and every time, it seemed like he just barely gave him enough space. There's a lot of trust between these two Finns. Now, you're right, he's gotten by. Can he run away? Because honestly, if he starts holding them up, they'll have 4 cars and we'll have a Vanio Conga line. I've been holding on to that one, just saying. A2 now up to 5th.
Can I just say, iRacing not top 10, we're here for you.
Okay. Let's duck away from that for a bit and check back in on our leaders. Simone and Freesia still holding that gap of about a second. Ever since we last saw Oscar make a slip up, it doesn't seem like he's been able to regain that ground. So wonder if he's finding the car going away from him towards the end of the race.
Yeah, that might be the case. You know, it might be running away from him a little bit, but Oscar is still trying to catch up to these guys. However, this lap, it's been worse for him. He's made another mistake this lap. Last time by, he was a little bit faster than the 2 guys out in front. And I think this is allowing Gernot to think about attacking now that he doesn't see that white Brabham in his mirrors anymore. So, you know, maybe Oscar Rinne now falling back gives Gernot these opportunities that he's waited all race. But we know Gernot. We know that he's a patient driver. We're only halfway through the race. And he can see that Tamás is really using his tires and he can hang in there. He doesn't make the move. He doesn't need to make the move until the last lap, but here he tries.
Has to go defensive. Simone holding him off down into turn 5. Could we see an over-under? No, he parks it at the apex. Freesia can't do anything with it, but that's the first time in a while we've seen them actually go side by side. Squeezes him all the way down to the inside. He's going to be able to poke his nose in down into 7. Big slide for Simone. Can he complete it around the outside of turn 8? Yes, he can. Freesia with a phenomenal move.
Unglaublich, ich liebe dich, Gernot. That was unbelievable. That was round the outside to 7-8. He fought it off. He was nowhere going into 7. I thought Tamás was going to chop him off because Gernot wasn't even properly alongside. He was like front wing on the level with the rear wheels alongside. But Gernot Freesia still manages to pull it off. And here comes Oskari now, right back into the battle. He's trying to jump at Tamás's heels a little bit, maybe. Can't quite pull it off into 11. Let's see what he can do on the final part. But that was a replay, Worry. That pun from you a couple of laps ago, that was iRacing not top 10. I think if I don't see that in the top 10, at least in the top 3 of iRacing top 10, then I don't know what move you're gonna put there, because that was amazing from Gernot. Even more so with a car with as much grip as this one offers.
And Oscar really loved that too. You can see how much he closed in on the 2 of them. He's back in the fight. This top 3 has been something of a slow burn, and now halfway through the race, it's suddenly erupting. Oscar deep on the brakes down into turn 3, and it'll actually cost him a bit of time as he has to check up to keep from getting into the back of Simone. But look at this, Freesia, now that he's by, he gets a great launch coming out of turn 4. He pulls a tiny bit of a gap. Was he being held up potentially during that first portion?
I mean, it could be. He won the previous race by 5 seconds here. These guys keep running races all throughout the week, as with any iRacing official series. Of course, the Sunday Grand Prix is the big thing. It's the main event. So it means more than anything else. But he was faster than Tamás last time around. He was 10th faster in qualifying and 5 seconds ahead of the second place guy. So, Gernot has the pace here. Everybody's been saying, how can we beat Gernot this week? And I don't think even Tamás has the answers to that. All he can do right now is hold on to the draft, hope that he can make up the difference in a straight line. But the thing is, Gernot looks faster, even here, a little bit faster. He's getting better launches. He's having a good setup in his car, and we know Gernot, he doesn't make mistakes very often, especially not when he's in a lead like this.
Well, I made a joke earlier about a conga line, but it seems like it actually is coming true because A2 is being followed by both Teemu, Martin, and Marco very closely. They're not falling away. There you see them on screen as they come to complete another lap. This has got to be a little bit unnerving for A2. Ooh, although he gets a great run here onto the front stretch, finally get himself some safety. Granberg, unfortunately, has Marco taking a little bit of a look. And he's going to try and send it down into turn 1, but he gets chopped off.
I think he was just watching what the reaction from Martin Granberg will be if he sends it there late. That was not the move you make with an intention to pass. That was the move you make when you want to force somebody into a mistake. And that's what Marco's thinking here. He's thinking, oh, I want to see if Martin makes a mistake, but in turn he makes his little mistakes of his own in turns 3 and 4, or at least in turn 3, and as a result of that loses a bit of ground. So it's an interesting battle here. 4 guys with very different approaches. You see Eetu there leading the train with his calm, cautious approach. Teemu fighting off injuries. Martin trying to hold on to them. And then Marko Kela, who seems to be the most proactive driver of this group at the moment.
In fact, he's looking pretty quick compared to the 3 in front of him. As they come around turn 9. Ooh, big stretch away from them with those top 2. Both the Finns find themselves getting a little bit of a buffer. Once again, squaring off the corner as Eetu trying to make sure that he isn't vulnerable down into turn 11. It actually quite works, even though he left the door open slightly in 10.
Yeah, and at this point in time, I think he's just focusing on his own racing, not too worried about Teemu behind him. He was driving behind Teemu for long enough to know that unless he makes a mistake, Teemu just doesn't have the pace to challenge him, and I think Teemu knows that as well. And I think they're trying to work together a little bit, maybe trying to get away from Martin behind them, not battling right now, with Martin Granberg under attack from Marko Kela, who once again takes the inside line into turn number 1. That just seems to be his line, he wants to break on the inside, and fair enough, that doesn't give him the best of exits. But as we run on board him, he's just really strong on the braking, turning his car before the braking, and just trying to really leap into that apex early.
Fans of Michael de Turk, he's actually gotten back up to 19th with a pass just this lap, getting by Timothy Reed. So his pace has not abandoned him after his problems. He's still climbing his way forward and is still hitting above his I rating. Riding on board with Marco here. And see how much speed these cars can carry through these corners. So hopefully it'll give us a good sense of how much the wake is causing him to struggle. See these hands saw back and forth at the wheel.
Yeah, I can hear that practically, the sound of a wheel being rimmed back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But Marko Kela really fighting to stay with these guys and doing reasonably well for himself as well. So he's one of those guys that's certainly going to be fighting in the future as well with our domestic Lotus 79 league coming up in Finland. You're going to see a lot more Finns in this series, which I think you're going to find just awesome trying to pronounce all of these guys. But yeah, Marco certainly staying focused, as it says on his rear wing. By the way, energy drink sponsors in 1978, not sure I approve.
Yeah, it makes me curious when those actually started to come about.
The 90s.
I see. Well, yeah, it's certainly already Finn-centric in here, so maybe it'll go from 80% to 90%. Very shallow line. I almost wonder if that's just Marco's line into that first corner.
It is, yeah. I mentioned it last time around. He takes it to the inside line, which is not wrong necessarily, and once again he's hungry to get to the apex. But look at here, let's see if he cleans it up on the exit. No, he still turns in a little bit too early, and he takes that curb on the inside of turn number 3. And you don't necessarily want to do that, by the way, on the top right of your
Oh
screen.
no!
Oh!
Grandberg gets hit.
That was a huge net code. But yeah, still way too late of braking from Marko Kela.
Oh, goodness. So let's take a look at the replay. And
I think after that one, you're allowed to call him Marko Kela just once.
Okay. Well, actually, I was going to say he called Marco, and I guess he didn't call Polo back and just got punted out into the wall hard. The damage is horrible, and it looks like he's able to get it going as we're back. Oh, he's limping, though. I think he's done, unfortunately. Yeah, the car's crapping bad.
Yeah, he is going a little bit of a slip angle, putting a little bit of a slip angle in there, but yeah, that's not the fastest way. Still though, Eetu and Teemu are fighting for the 5th place. They saw a bit of a disaster behind them, saw their chance to run away, but Teemu's still trying to hold on, and it's a brave drive from Teemu Vaskilampi. It must be said, guy fighting off injury, it must be hurting every time he drives around. He's been asking around for force feedback setups all the week. He has a direct drive wheel as well, so that doesn't make it any easier and makes a bit of a mistake there, but I think it must be hurting, really like physically hurting to catch all those slides, but he's still doing it.
Impressive stuff, and indeed Grandberg did head into pit lane, so fish out of water as the number 9 finds himself done for the day. Our top 3 have not really changed for those wondering. Friesche, Simone, and Rin are still in the same position. They're starting to hit some of the lap traffic at this point. Now just going by Craig Spitzer. Incredibly, we have only lost now 3 cars, Costa, Sarles, and Grandberg. We didn't cover Steve Sarles wrecking out, but a few laps ago, he found himself in pit lane. Last driver running is the number 32 of Steve Rossman.
Yeah, Stefan Rosman in 32nd place. Still a lot of drivers around, and we are starting to see some lap cars as well on the back of your pictures. Do not adjust your sets. That's Greg Spitzer in the 30th place, not Fredrik Tenkate, not quite there, the 4th place driver. Still going strong in 4th place, however. And more drivers are starting to come in front of these leaders, and we still have 8 laps to go, so it might become even more of an effect. Gernot Fritsche 138.9 last time around, Shimon 39.1, Oskar Rinne 39.2, and he started to get held back just a tiny bit by Tamás Simon here, it feels like. Or rather, Tamás Simon can't quite match the pace that Gernot Fritsche is putting on. It's getting hotter and hotter in the sauna, and I think Tamás is starting to beg Gernot that don't throw any more water over the stones, and Gernot just threw a bucket.
It's certainly looking like what we were saying earlier, that Friesche was being held up was an accurate assessment. Now, interesting that Oscar, though, is holding on, because he was falling off before a little bit, and maybe he's got the tires underneath him now and is starting to apply a little bit of pressure.
I don't know if it's more Oscar getting the tires under him or Tamás having his tires fall off him. But Oscar is the fastest man of this race by the fastest lap time at this moment in time, so not far faster than Gernot in terms of that. But Oscar is now starting to come to his form, and certainly finding that the race pace suits him better when everybody has worn tires, that his setup is working maybe a little better. He has the wake as well, the dirty air, and I think that might have an effect too, where earlier on it might have been understeering and he was forcing that car to turn into the corners. Now it's more neutral, with the car being lighter and the car living more underneath him. That dirty wake is kind of offsetting the oversteer that the setup would naturally have.
A few moments, though, as we ride on board there, I saw a few bobbles. Now, the difference between first and second in normal circumstances is only 6 points, but we already know that Tamás took pole, so that's going to take it down to 4-point difference between Friesche and Simone. The question is, who has fastest lap right now?
That would be Oskar Linde. No, Gernot Fritsche.
Yeah, okay. So that evens it out. So it is still a 6-point swing after this round if they finish as they are, which would put 9 points between them come the last round, which is not a huge cushion, but obviously that will put Gernot in a good position where he honestly wouldn't even have to beat Simone.
No, and he could afford to finish in the second place. We see one driver making a mistake, that's Stefan Rosman taking it out of the track to avoid the leading drivers. They got Barry West on turn noses next time around, trying to get around these lap cars. But yeah, Gernot has really done the Gernot thing here, where he comes to form late part of the season and didn't seem too bothered by his lackluster qualifying. I think he was a little bit disappointed by his qualifying time, certainly expecting to beat Tamás, but he just held strong, wasn't too bothered by the attacks from Oscar Rinne, and then found his space and put a brilliant move on Tamás. And I think that that really showed Tamás that, hey, you know, Gernot is really on a form today, and I don't think Tamás was expecting that. And I think Tamás now realizing that he doesn't have the legs to catch up to Gernot.
Most of our battles that we've really been focusing on have started to separate up at the top of the field, but this one has not. The battle for P9 still between Bycroft and Williams, being led by the number 2 of Bycroft, has been trying to hold him off. We saw a couple attempts earlier on from Paul. Paul's another one. You look at that number on the car, the number 20, and he's in the top 10. This is going to be a nice iRating gain for Paul today.
Yeah, and a nice confidence gain as well, because he's usually been in the bottom end of the top split in terms of the drivers who make it there. Of course, that's qualified by iRating, and iRating defines the numbers on these cars. So Gernot Fritzsche having the highest iRating of this field, as you can see on the numbers just behind the position numbers on the left side of your screens. Oh. And Paul Williams, for who is normally kind of a, you know, hinge guy, a guy in between first and second split, in the bubble, so to speak. If he can really finish in the top 10 on the top split here, and if he can put the fight to Steve Bycroft, doesn't look like it because he made a few mistakes on this lap, he's really showing that it's not just luck that brought him to the top split, it's also he's got the pace to fight with these guys. And as I said earlier on, it's a real great opportunity for guys like Paul Williams, and which is why I'm so sad to see Michael de Turk so far back, because he was showing the pace too earlier on.
A little bit of commentator's curse, unfortunately, on Williams as he starts to slip up. But second place now returning to a close fight. Simone and Oscar. Now, Oscar's not in the championship battle. He is just here for pride at this point, even though he could gain a few positions toward the end, and he is in the top 10 in points. But I'm not sure if with him showing the skill that he is, he's just interested in trying to gain a few spots in the championship. He wants to take wins. He wants to get higher on the podium. And this could certainly hurt Tamás even more in his championship hunt, trying to dethrone the multi-time champion of Gernot Fritzsche. A little bit of a look this time from the Finn, but doesn't try and do anything with it.
Yeah, so last time around, they lost heaps of time behind a lap car. I think it was Barry West who was just in a bad position for them, didn't do anything wrong, and they had to go around him, and that meant both Tamás and Oscar now fell off Gernot properly, and now it's between the two. Now Tamás doesn't have the draft anymore, he doesn't really have sights in the win, and he suddenly realizes that, you know, he can't win unless Gernot makes a mistake, so he has to defend. And I think that changes the mindset of this battle as well, with Oscar trying his best to attack with this car that just doesn't have the grip on the exit of the corners. Oscar is good everywhere else, but he just can't put the power down. And you know, it's really difficult to overtake when you can't do that.
Few mistakes here from Oscar this lap has cost him a 10th or 2. Let's see if he can regain it. Ooh, he's very hard down into that last chicane, and that looked costly as he once again drops back off the exit. Gernot Fritzsche with another fastest lap, trying to keep things as even as possible with Simone. Give him a good shot at taking the championship.
Yeah, Gernot was half a second faster than Tamás Simon last time by. So that really goes to show you that the Austrian Superman has come to the form late on in this race. Tamás and Oscar is still getting quite close to each other. And you know, and meanwhile, further back in P number 13, there is decent fight going on between Mike Rasimas, Derek Rollwell, and Pekka Kelahara. Rasimas surprisingly far down with a damaged car, and Rollwell looking to challenge him.
Both Roveld and Kalahara have climbed forward by a good amount from 22nd and 21st down to the inside. Lick the stamp and send it. And the postage, well, it was out. Unfortunately, looks like it's going to be returned. Not enough postage as Rasimas gets back ahead. In fact, there's going to be a position lost in that as Roveld is overtaken by Kelahara with a sneaky move up into 3.
Yeah, it was first too little postage, and then Kelahara was the taxman who was taking his own share anyway, and those guys having a bit of communication as well. I don't think Rasimas was too happy to see Rollwell attacking to the inside turn. That was a bit of a late move, but hey, you know, it just spices up this battle with the damaged car of Mike Rasimas in the front. Pekka Kelahara and Derek Rollwell trying their best to climb up positions, and a couple of these guys are actually in the team championship hunt as well. Mike Rasimas driving for the Candy Team Tyrrell, and of course Derek Rollwell for the SX Team Lotus.
Ooh, a little bit of a slip there from Rasimas. He's coming out of turn 9 and got a lot of wheel spin. Kalahara, he got 1 spot this lap. Can he go for 2? If he gets a good launch off of here, and he does, he's going to be right in that slipstream underneath the rear wing as they pick up speed, 150 miles an hour. Now he looks, no defense, interestingly, from Rasimas. Lets him have the inside. And Kalahara, 2 spots in 1 lap. What a run.
Yeah, meanwhile, further up front, it is once again Tamás Simon versus Oskari Rinne for the 2nd position. They're side by side. Is Oskari Rinne looking to do it again? Not here. Oh, round the outside into 7. What a brilliant move from Oskari. And what a brave move as well. I think we're gonna need to see a replay of that one, where it started. And how did Oskari pull that off, Joe? Wow. And what a slide from Oskari as well. Let's go to that replay later.
Yeah, we got to stay with us because that unfortunately lost lots of traction down to the inside, down into 10. It's not over yet. Tries to pinch him down through the corner. They come together, and around goes Simone. He catches the car. Did he get the wall at all? No, it looks like the car's clean. He's going to lose a spot to Freak Tankata. He's down to 4th. He's off the podium. This is hurting his chances at the championship by leaps and bounds.
Simon says that's not okay. Here we see it already. They are side by side all the way from, I think that's that's heading onto the all back straight. Yeah, that's the other main straight. So that's the contact between Simon and Oskari Rinne, and I think they just came together, you know, with Tamás being a little bit too wide on the exit, it must be said. He didn't really leave room for Oskari Rinne, who I don't think Tamás realized was still there. Oskari was still barely alongside, so that's a racing incident to me. And that's just an unfortunate end to that racing incident.
So that takes away that battle. Let's go back to 9th, where Millward is being caught by Bycroft, interestingly. Or did Millward go? Oh, Millward got by both Bycroft and Williams. This must have been recent. Take a look at it. By the way, for those wondering what the damage done, 42 points for 4th place. Here's the pass
so here
on Bycroft. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Bycroft making a mistake going too far over the curb, and just easy pass for Alex Millward, who already got by Paul Williams earlier on. So Bycroft and Williams continue the battle. Alex Millward just saying, you know, you guys keep going. You have a battle. I'm just gonna, you know, sneak up and take the 9th place away. Hope you don't mind.
Just cutting through and carry on. As we take a look at the battle for P5. 2 Finns who have not been separated. Now, it would have been 3 Finns, but it looks like Marco doesn't quite have the pace to hold on to them. He's back about 1.5 seconds from these 2, and only 2 laps to go. I think they're not going to have much time. Actually, 1 lap to go here in just a minute, as we are getting the white flag for our leader. There he is on screen.
What a brilliant race for Gernot Fritzsche, really showing why he is the Superman and why he's so highly regarded by these drivers. We talk about him a lot, and I think some of the viewers are starting to think, why is this guy so special if he's running in P number 5 week after week? Well, this is why. This is the kind of stuff Gernot Fritzsche can pull out of his hat. That's why he's so special. Educate yourselves, everybody. And we're gonna be here to educate you about Gernot Fritzsche all year long. And here he is majestically taking to the 7-8 complex where he took the race lead, now just finding his line and looking towards the maximum points. Well, almost maximum points at least.
Something of a homecoming as well, because Gernot has not won a race since the first round at Watkins Glen, and here we're in the penultimate one, and yet, like you said, leading the championship and going to extend his lead here today. Gernot Fritzsche with just 3 more corners to go and a little bit of lap traffic. A gap of 4 seconds back to Rinne. Just nobody to hassle him here at the end compared to how close it was for the majority of the race. Unbelievable effort. Down through the last chicane for the final time. Gernot Fritzsche going to take the victory here in round 12 in the Classic Teams Championship. Looks like Rinne is going to take second, and Friedton Kato with a well-earned podium ahead of a frustrated Tomas Simon.
Yeah, and in the end, it was Eetu Vainiokangas who held off Vaskilampi in the end. Oh, and Bycroft slow is on back straight, yeah, and that's Paul Williams getting through, and I'm not sure if he'll let him through or if he's just running out of fuel. Let's see the final couple of corners here. No,
seems fine now.
No, Bycroft, weird. He's struggling. Listen to his engine.
Wonder, he's gonna make it, and even Williams seems a little confused. He's getting on the radio asking what happened. So Bycroft, unfortunately, falling outside the top 10. Down to Rasimus. He's being chased by Vimal. The number 28, also hitting above the belt, above his weight class, is number 28 going to finish in 16th here today.
Yeah, and behind them, the Turk finishing 17th ahead of Lost Olsen and Timothy Reed as well coming home, Pablo Suarez as well, and a couple of other drivers, last guys on the lead lap, waiting home for them. And then we are gonna, I think, Joe, wait for the interviews after a slight break. But one more note I want to say. Teemu's comments after race, I wish I could bleeping drive.
Oh, I guess just as frustrated with himself and not really blaming others here today. But we are indeed going to go to break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Twin Ring Motegi. We said the pressure would be on, and well, only one of the three drivers responded to that pressure. Gernot Frische, taking only his second win, in spite of still leading the championship over Askari Rin. Gonna get that name right at least once today. Freak Tenkata finished in third after trailing along in fourth for the majority of the race. He beat Tomas Simon, who was looking to make inroads to try and take a championship. And instead, he is now way under the gun and has a mountain to climb in the last round against Gernot Frische, finishing fourth today. Eetu Vainio Congas finished with a top five ahead of Teemu Vaskalampi. And then you've got Marco J with a last name that I apparently have botched a lot in seventh, Severny Seppa finishing P8. Alex Millward coming home ninth today, and Paul Williams climbing from 16th to get a top 10.
Indeed, he got by Steve Bycroft, who ended up outside of the top 10 in 11th place. Carl Villeneuve finishing 12th. Pekka Kelahara 13th, ahead of Derek Rollwell, who had a great battle with Mike Rasimas, and Vimal Anandharaman coming home in 16th place. Michael de Turk, a little bit unfortunate on the opening laps, still coming home 17th, ahead of Lost Olsen, Timothy Reed, and Pablo Suarez.
21st went to Robert Plumley, Keith Herner in 22nd. You've got Kit Engstrom in 23rd. Last two cars on the lead lap, Simpkins in 24th and Del Muth in 25th. These are the drivers that had to let the leaders by: Ladauto, West, Ferrer, and Van Dorn. Then you get into the drivers that had big problems in DNF: Granberg, Spitzer, Rossman, Sarles, and Costa. That's going to take us to our winner today, Gernot Frische, who we are going to talk to about the victory. It's been a long time since he's been on the top step of the podium in this series this season. And Gernot, you did it in style. Tell us about that overtake for the lead. You had our jaws on the floor.
I tried to. Hi, Joe. It's been a really tough race because it made it much more difficult than necessary in qualifying. I think my pace was really good this week. Actually, it was my best pace for a long time. So yeah, it's not an easy track for overtaking. I had to really put up quite some pressure on Tamas, and yeah, I was lucky that he made just a minor mistake, and I was able to get alongside him. That was enough to overtake.
So when you found yourself behind him like that, did you feel like you could run away if you got by, or did you think this was a case?
No, not really. I knew from the previous races that our pace was really quite similar, so I didn't expect to be able to pull up a gap. But yeah, in the end, I was a little bit lucky because it looked like the other guys were involved in some fighting, and that made it a little bit easier, at least during the final laps for me.
As soon as I get him, I'm going to have to play hard defense. Well, it was very impressive to watch from our end. Again, congratulations on the victory. Is there anybody you want to thank as we head into the last round and you look at another potential championship here?
Just looking forward to the final round. It's another really good track in the end. So yeah, see you guys there, and yeah, ich liebe dich auch. Awesome.
Great stuff. Someone will have to translate that one for me.
He loves us too. He loves us too.
Okay. It's
a little bit of a shout out to me earlier when I said ich liebe dich on the pass.
Okay, there we go. So my German should be better, but it's not. Meanwhile, Ozzy, you've caught up with Askari as he needs to talk about this great second place that he's pulled up.
Indeed, Oskari Rinne, you've been really the talk of the series last 4-5 weeks. Couple of victories, second place here from Motegi. How was racing out there for you today? It looked like you didn't quite have the pace to match Gernot and Tamas, but you got a great fight on the end, so tell us about the race.
Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, I knew that Gernot was probably the fastest car there, and when I saw that he got past Tamas, so I knew the battle for the win was over then, and then I got a good run on Tamas, and then I went wide, or I had a little wheel spin on the left-hander, and then I don't know. I watched the replay, and I think he just ran me off the road pretty much because I was still there, and he just tried to squeeze me off. He's saying that it's my fault, but I don't think so.
Yeah, certainly something to be discussed later on. We're supposed to be impartial here on the commentary booth, so I'm not going to comment any more on that. But Oskari, how about your form late on in the season? You had a couple of second places, couple of victories. Are you looking to, get even more involved in the winning fight in next week at Suzuka as well?
Yes, I think so because I this has is not my strongest track for sure, but I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed that it ended up with contact with Tomasz because yeah, I'm not in the championship fight, but it's still like I'm still racing for position, so I'm not giving anything for free. And yeah,
Well, good luck with that, Oskari. If you have anything more to say, then feel free to do so. Otherwise, congratulations for the second place, and well, good luck next week.
nothing really. Thank you guys for having a great broadcast, and thanks for the drivers. Thanks.
Yep, thank you, Oskari, as well for the interview and show. I think that's it.
Yep, that's the last of our interviews today. Freak Tinkata not wanting to come and talk to us, might be still celebrating that surprise podium. So before we go, we want to remind you to advertise with us. GSRC offers a wealth of options to help you get your branding seen on a platform with over 1 million monthly impressions. If your organization is looking for a global audience to advertise with, look no further than GSRC. Follow the link in the description below if you want to learn some more. Big thanks to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage for the Sunday Grand Prix series. And also thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts. They've got them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Ozzy, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media, where our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, we've got a merchandise store just at gsrc.storenv.com. Another link down there in the YouTube description that you can easily click. And while you're down there, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, you'll see a big red button that says subscribe. Follow those instructions, so make sure you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race in this series is going to be at Suzuka. We're staying in Japan for the finale. That'll be Sunday, September 6th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. We got a little bit of break today, but if you're going to be staying up late at night here over on the western side of the world, we've got the BMW Race Driver E Series at Monza at 4 a.m. Eastern. That'll be way early in the morning for those of us here in the States. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.